All right, welcome to this course. My name is Joel Heidema. I'm a professional licensed engineer in the states of Nevada and California. The main things we do in my business is structural design and structural engineering, and we use Revit. Over the last 14 years, I've created templates, processes, workflows, all sorts of things to help me be more efficient in my design practice. And so this course ideally is going to be the first course of many where we go through these processes and workflows. And hopefully these will help you be able to be more efficient and be able to create structural drawings in Autodesk Revit. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open up your Revit project. It's going to be titled Start Structural Studio Project. All right, and within all of your files, you're going to have access to the course project files and the course resources. All right, we're going to just go over a little bit of housekeeping here, what the project workflow is, and how we store and manage files. So this file format and folder setup is what we use in our design practice. We have a review folder, we have project info. The review folder is for when these need to be reviewed by an engineer or the principal engineer. Everything gets put in there with the date that they were done and ready for review. Okay. And then the project info is any sort of photos, site visit files, anything you have from going out to the site. This O3 received drawings is going to be where we put our architectural Revit file and our PDF file. So anything we received from the architect that we're going to use to start creating our structural drawings. So in this folder, you'll have these files. This is the project we're going to be creating. It's a studio project. We have some 3D views. We have some floor plans. We have a roof plan, roof slope. We have some section views, and then we have some elevations. Okay, and then we're going to also have the architectural Revit file. So if we back out of there, O2 communications is for any sort of communications that needs to be communicated on the project. Those are going to get dumped into this file, whether it's email, anything like that. Calculations folder. Calculations folder is going to have all of our calculation templates, all of our calc files, anything like that. In this course, we're just going to be going over creating preliminary structural drawings for the engineer to review. But I'm just giving you this full file format just so that you guys have an idea of how actual working firms operate. Here's our drawings folder. This is where we work out of in our firm, the drawings. We put our Revit in here, okay? And so we're going to clean this up and you'll see. So you'll see our Revit file in here under Drawings Revit. This is where we work out of, and then internal review, they'll be put into here. And then in our submittals file, when we go to submit for permit, then this is where we put our permit submittal files right here and what we send to the client. And if there's any plan review, then you put the files in here. And then the construction administration is during the project construction. This is where we start dumping files, submittals, shop drawings, RFIs, SSKs, which are specific details or drawings that we need to do during construction to clarify things or add things to the drawings for the contractors. All right, so that's the overview of the course project files. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and you're going to open up, you're going to go File, you're going to go File, Open, and you're going to open a project. Okay, this file is a project file, and then wherever you save these, you're going to, if you download this course project files, you're going to go here to Drawings, and then you're going to go to Revit, and you're going to open this Start Project. Okay, and then click the Open, and that's going to open your Revit project. All right, since I already have that open now, I'm going to go back to here. So actually, you should go to your file save as. You should go to project. And you should fix your options here to, instead of 20 backups, I just normally do one. Okay. And then you should save it as start, save it the same name, hit save. Okay. The other thing, this template is US Imperial units essentially. So that's what we're going to be doing everything in, because this is US based, North America. And we're going to be doing our design and our drawings based on the 2018 IBC, the International Building Code, 2018 International Building Code. All right. So the other asset you want to keep in mind to start using is something called keyboard shortcuts. So you're going to go here and go to your options. You're going to go to the user interface. You're going to go to file locations. And right here, you'll see so actually you're going to go to user interface, keyboard shortcuts. I'm going to go up here because I'm going to be doing keyboard shortcuts throughout this project to make everything more efficient. I'm going to go import. Another screen is going to pop up. And then you're going to go back to, I'm going to give you a course project files here, or course resources, and there's a keyboard shortcuts in here. So you're going to load that file in. So click that, hit open, merge with existing. I overwrite, so I want to overwrite everything. Okay, hit OK. So now your keyboard shortcuts are set up. We have the project open, and I would go ahead and hit Control S, which is save, and now it's saved, quick saved into the location where you saved it. All right, now that we have everything set up, the very first step is for us to import the architectural Revit file. So you want to go into your floor plans. You want to make sure you have at least a level in here. And I have one level, main level. Okay. When you double click onto that, depending on your firm's template, you'll see different things on this main level, but this is our starting view for the main level. We've got grid lines here, these guys, and then we've got a scope box. Okay. And then we have elevations. These are elevation views. Okay, so that's what we're seeing in here. So first things first, we want to go to insert, and we go to link Revit. Right? And so since you're working out of the project files, you're going to go to your project info, you're going to go to receive drawings, and you're going to open that up. Right? And so there's different things you can do here, the positioning. I typically just do internal origin to internal origin most of the time, but you'll see, depending on the architectural model, how they have their internal coordinates set up, you would choose one of these options. But by default, I just use this, and if there's something different, then I go and research it. Nowadays, you can find a lot of research, a lot of videos about this sort of aspect, and if it's not, doesn't fit your specific use case, right? So, but for this project, we're just going to do this. We're going to move through it and show you how we do it based on this template. So you're going to go there, hit OK. Okay. So you'll sometimes get an error like that. That's completely fine. You hit OK. It's talking about some other link. It's not going to show up. Sometimes the architectural models have different links linked into them, and those won't come into yours. You don't want them to come into yours. Okay. Okay. So the very first thing I start doing is I start setting up the grid lines. So we have this grid line here. We have this grid line here. They're not set up to the location that we want them. So for structural drawings, you typically want to do, or your grid lines to face of stud. So this is a wood project. We're going to do wood studs on this, and you always put the grid lines to face the stud. And so I'll show you what that looks like. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a section, which is SEC. That's our shortcut. All right. And so this is our section view. So you see, this is the linked Revit model. Okay. And typically your face of stud is going to be lined up with the face of concrete. So we're going to investigate this model right now and see what's going on. So I'm going to change this to medium. Okay. And if you hit tab to select, one of the things in Revit I do a lot is when I'm investigating, I hit tab, and then you see at the lower left there, you'll see something pop up down here, and you've selected a wall. Okay, so if you click on this wall, you can now go investigate this wall. Hit edit type, edit, and then here you see how they built out this wall. They've got 1.5 inches of stucco, and then some more stucco. So essentially 2 inches of stucco. So there's like a few coats of stucco, some insulation, and all of that. And then we have the plywood sheathing, and then we have our studs. So our studs are, that's what we're talking about when we say face of stud. The face of studs is behind the plywood. And then they'll have drywall on the inside. Depending on your architect, they may not build out their walls this well. Just depends on the caliber of the architect you get in the architectural model. Sometimes these are not too representative, and so there may be some communication you need to do with them. But this is all part of the inputs for the project that you need to know as you start creating these drawings. So that's our face of stud. So we know, I'm going to hit TL, which is thin lines. We know that there's that exterior, the stucco, let's go here. I'll show you again. Here, edit type. Here. So this 1/2 inch is right there. This 1.5 inches is right there. This 3/8 is right there. And then the stud is right there. Okay. So that's where we want our grid line, right there. And that lines up with face of concrete. Okay. So this is a wood building. We've got concrete walls. We've got wood studs. That's how you'd lay out your grid lines. Typically, if you have a steel building, your grid lines would be center of columns. But that's not what we're doing here. We're just doing wood studs. Okay, so I'm going to back out now. And then you can place it in this view. Also, I do something called CS, which is create similar. And then I can go here. I can click, go up to here, go drag this. So you use tab a lot. So you hover over that, modify the grid by dragging the N. Look at the lower left, they'll give you commands. Line those up. All right. And when we lay out grids, we always do letters in one direction and numbers in the other direction. So this would be B. Everything is typically in all caps when we're doing this. So now I can go back to the main level and you can see that that grid line showed up. I'll line it up with that for now. Okay, you can see it's way out of the view here. We'll fix that later. You can do CS, or you can do GR, which is another grid line, and you can do pick lines. This is another way to do it. See, so notice how I can't see our face of stud here. So I'm going to change this to medium. Okay, now you can see the face of stud. It's wanting to click to this line, so I don't want to do that. I want to hit tab. Now it clicks to the face of stud. Okay, so now we're good there. That came in there as C. I'm going to name it as 1. Oh, actually, let's name this as 2, and this is 1. Okay, I'm going to teach you another trick here. We're going to do a L, which is a line. I'm going to hover down, see these two multiple alignment lock. I'm going to keep those for now, but if I do the lock, it's going to lock this grid line to the face of stud there, which is fine. Again, it wants to do that, so I'm going to hit tab, hover down here. I want the grid line to go to that location, so I click that. So you click where it wants to go first, and then you click the element. So now this lock means it's locked. right? So our grid lines are all kind of messed up here. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to do SA, which is select all elements in view. I'm going to hover over grid line, right click, reset to 3D extents. That didn't work. Maximize 3D extents. Reset to 3D extents. Okay. That's good. So now all the grid lines are like really long. So from now, let's do this again. SA, reset to maximum. SA again, maximize 3D extents. Okay, so that's fine. For now, I'm not going to mess with those. Just extended them out. When we get the drawings, we get the foundation, the shear wall of those going, I'll show you how to clean that up. All right, so those are grid lines. So that's done. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up our levels. Okay, we've set up our grid lines. Now we're going to go to a elevation. And so this takes a little bit. You can either double click into here or click over here, but let's go double click there. Okay, so what I like to start doing is I like to set up these elevation views. So hit VG, which is visibility graphics. And I like to see this link as an underlay. Okay. So what that does for me is it shows me what the architectural model is and what I have in my model. Okay. So I only have this one level. All right. Which is main level. And the architect has a level up here, which is the high point of the roof. That's all they give us. This is typically what architects do. They're very light on the levels and very light on the grid lines. So as structural engineers, when we put in our drawings, we create grid lines and we create levels on how they build them. So the first levels that I like to set up are the ones that I'm going to use to create my plan views. Okay. And so we need to determine what sort of plan views we're creating first. Okay. So typically on a project like this, let's go to the 3D view. Let's see if we have this link. Here's the architectural model that's linked in. So you notice that in this view, the 3D views, it's not coming in as underlay. So you go VG. Okay. So another fix. So since I've had this template set up, there's view templates that are assigned to view. So when you go to the VG or VG and it's all grayed out, that means there's a view template. So you've got to go here. You got none, apply. Okay. And now you can do VG and you can modify how things look. That's what visibility graphics are. The other thing that you can just do, I'm going to go back to assign this link. You can modify everything and how it looks in here. Okay, so click this, what we did before, underlay, apply, okay, apply, okay. Okay, so now this is an underlay. And so it's only going to show what we have in our model is like solid like this, and everything else is from the architectural model. All right. So sheets. So we need to determine what sheets we're going to create. And so let's think about that. So typically on a project like this, we're going to have a foundation plan. Okay. We're going to have a roof plan. And then we're going to have a shear wall plan. Okay. So that's 3 plan views. That's typically going to be how you lay out single story projects. Is you're going to have those sort of plan views, and then the number of sheets that you need are going to be dependent on how many views you can fit on a sheet, right? So if you can fit foundation plan on one sheet, then it's going to be one sheet with the foundation plan, all right? If you can fit the framing plan and the roof framing plan and the foundation plan on one sheet, then you're only have one sheet, and it's going to be called foundation framing roof framing plan. On small projects, most of the time you can fit multiple plan views on a sheet. So what we're going to do is we're going to open the course resources. This is the final PDF, okay? And we're going to go to plan views. So these are our plan views, okay? This is a foundation plan. This is a roof framing plan, okay? And those fit on one sheet. So you're going to have one sheet. Then we have a shear wall plan. Typically, we create a shear wall plan to be very clear on what's required for our shear walls. The shear walls are for the lateral system. Here in the west coast of the US, we have seismic, we have wind, and so we want to be clear what's required for the lateral resisting system of the building. And so if there are wood shear walls, we create a separate shear plan. Okay, just for clarity. The idea of drawings is to create clarity for the contractors to build the projects correctly. That's the main intent of structural drawings. Okay, so they can build it clearly, they can bid it clearly, they can create a good scope of work, and everything can run smoothly on the project, and that keeps project costs down. So good drawings keep project costs down. All right. So like I said, I already know we're going to have a plan view for this, plan view for that, and a plan view for this. Okay. So we go back to Revit, go to the right elevation here. We got main level. This, we're going to create our foundation plan off the main level because that's at the very bottom. So I'm going to go, and so now typically when I start naming my levels, I name them like top, so TO slab. So top of slab, that's what that means. So so it'd be TO slab. Okay, so that means top of slab. Would you like to rename corresponding views? No, I hit no and I click this because what it's going to do is typically it's going to rename this floor plan to top of slab. And so I typically don't rename that so that it doesn't show up on on my elevations like that. Okay. Actually, see, I actually hit rename. So if I go here, slab. And so actually, so now it actually did that. So how I name levels is basically you first start by naming the levels you need for plans. So we need a level here at the base for foundations. We need a level here potentially for our roof plan, and that's actually it. And then we know that this is a slab on grade, so we'd go to our sections, to what section we did right here. If you clicked on this, you can also change this to color, shaded. You see this is a slab on grade. All right. So we know there's a top of slab and then there's a top plate essentially. So I'm going to call this PO slab. And that's fine. I want to rename the view over here. It's gonna give you an error. Yeah, and you're gonna say yes, rename it over here. Okay. Now I want to create another level for my roof plan, like I said. I'm gonna put it right there for now. So the reason I do that is that's gonna be, and this is how I name my levels is TO. I'm gonna call this so top of lower plate. Okay. So I want to be clear when you're naming your levels, you first do your levels based on the plan views you need. And then if you need additional levels for modeling, then that's when you add the additional levels for modeling. Okay. And I would right now, just for clarity, I would throw another one up here. So remember, we're still in thin lines, so it's TL. If I hit TL, Just going to toggle back and forth between this. I'm going to call this teal upper plate. So that's how I name my levels. Yep. You don't see floor plans created here or structural plans because we didn't create them yet. This was the base out of the box, and there was a plan already associated with this level. All right. So that's how I'm setting up levels. We can also go to the section here and take a look what these look like. Here they're in that section. The scale's off on this one. You can change the scale here. All right. So that was setting up levels. All right. So now the next thing we're going to do is we've got the two levels set up. We need to start creating some sheets here. So the typical sheet layout goes something like this. You've got your S001 sheet, which is typically general notes. And I'm going to pull this up. Okay, it's typically your general notes. It has a structural sheet index on it. And then we have typical details on the next one with scheduling notes and abbreviations. You might have some symbols on here, depending on how your firm's set up. And then you have typical concrete details here. Okay, you have typical framing details, shear wall details, nailing details. Then you're going to have some more typical wood framing details, and this is on S005. So your S001, S002, S003, S004, S005 are going to be some typical detail sheets. And then you typically have your plan views, which start at S100. You might have different naming conventions. And then we go S201 for our shear wall plans, S301 for our 3D views, and S501 for details. We might, and so forth. So S501, S502, S503, and then for framing details, we set up S601 and S602. That's where we put our typical framing details, or not typical, your actual, like more specific details that aren't typical, you put on these sheets, the S501s. S601s. We don't have an S601 because this job is not complicated, so all the details got put onto S501. All right, so we have 9 sheets in total. All right, and this is our sheet index here. So we're going to set up the sheets now. And I also have this studio project sheet layout document that I'm going to put into the folder. This just goes through what the details are, what sheets, and just maybe a little more definition of what's going on in those details and what's on our foundation, framing plans. Those are just kind of high level. What's on the shear wall plan, what's on the 3D views, and then the S501 sheet. All right, so this is in the course documents folder also. It's going to be called Studio Project Sheets Layout. All right. So let's go create some sheets. So there are add-ins that you can use to create sheets pretty quickly. You can do PyRevit. There's a few add-ins. So here's the manual way to do it. New sheet. I'm going to save the project. You can also do a Control S. So new sheet. This is the title block. You're going to want to use the SHQ Arc D24 by 36. This is our standard sheet size. It means it's 24 inches tall by 36 inches wide. Okay. So there's the first sheet. It's going to show up over here. All right. All right. So this is the sheet down here, and you can go back and look at this document that you have. It's actually in PDF format, or you can look at our final PDF here, and here's the sheet index, and create the sheets based on this. So I'm using Bluebeam here. You can do multiple things. You can do this if you don't want to type everything. You click and then click again. And I did Control B. Okay. All right. duplicate sheet, duplicate empty sheet right now. I'm going to do, this is the slow way to do it. Schedules and notes. If you want to do it in a few sheets, you can do it this way. All right. Okay, so now that was the slow way to do it. The quick way to do it is if you have the list of sheets that you want to create, you can download, this is an add-in called PyRevit. This one up here. And you can go here, Sheets, Batch Sheet Maker. All right, so you can type them all in. Or since we have Bluebeam and we have the list, I just went here, went like this, Control C, go into here, Control V. Okay, now you got to be careful. It says it's tab. It wants a tab, so you got to hit tab, and then you got to go through and clean all these out. There's multiple ways to do this. You can do this from Excel, all sorts of things. Go like that. Okay, now create. Choose your title block, select. All right, so there's the sheets already created. Okay. So now you can start creating and dragging your plans onto these sheets if you'd like. This is our final project, right? Obviously, obviously when you're setting up a project, so this is a small wood project. So the notes that are being asked here as well, one, are going to depend on the materials used on this project. So you as the preliminary drawing creator, sometimes you don't know what the engineers want to come back at. For most single story projects, it's going to be wood here in the US, unless the architect has something else defined. So if you're in, let's use this house. This house default 3D view would jump to your default 3D view, the house will. So if you're looking, I hit tab. If you're in here and you're looking at the ARC's model, they've got CMU in here. That's their way of communicating they want CMU. Okay. If you're in here and they got concrete in here, that's the way of communicating they want concrete. Right? If you're in here and you're looking at the roof and they got plywood sheathing and they got soft lumber or some sort of wood, then you need some sort of sheeting notes, you need some wood notes. So that's what, like, the notes that go on this sheet are based upon what are in the project. So you can take a quick guess that you're going to need wood panel sheathing, reinforcing steel, because that goes into concrete. And then you're going to have some foundation requirements. And then we're going to have primary code requirements. And then we're going to have general requirements. So that's a typical like sheet layout. If you're looking at the arc and it looks like they might have trusses or something, then you're going to have truss notes, right? If it looks like you're going to have like a wood floor, you're going to have some TGI notes. Okay, so that's typically what determines him. You can get an idea by just figuring out what's in the model and throwing those notes on up front. Okay, but either way, you might still need to add stuff later. Okay, so I'm gonna have this off to the side on my other screen. All right, I've got a second screen here, and I can go to here, and this is how I like to do it. You can look through here. You can do a search, general notes, general requirements, right? And you can drag it on there. You can do that. Okay, that's one way to do it. Or you can hit B space, hit OK. And that drags it on there. B space. I'm going to do foundation. Okay, B space. And we're going to hit B, primary codes specifications. We're going to drop that right there. B, reinforcing. Enter. We're going to drop that right there. B, concrete. Got that right, but we'll organize this later. V would go right there. V on wood. Okay, put that right there. All right. So now I'm going to select all these, go here, no title. Okay. And then we try to like organize these, line them up. You'll see inside each one of these, there's these reference planes, right? And those line things up somewhat. Here, start everything in place, go here. That's our concrete. Ideally, you want to line these up, keep the spacing in between them the same. Okay, there's that. That's set up. I'm gonna hit Control S. So typically when you get into these projects, the sheets should already be set up, right? But this is just setting it from the beginning. Do the abbreviations, do that, throw that right there. The IBC fastening schedule is the next sheet. Do a crossing. Just line those up. Okay, Control S, save, go here. The rebar configurations is the first one. All right, the other thing you can do is if you know what details are going on the sheets, you can go over here to the project browser, and you can select them, and then you can just drag and drop them. Okay, so they're not, they're not organized, but you would, they don't fit exactly on, but you can do something like that. And I gotta play around with them to work. The order most of the time it's not too important on these typical details unless you have a 2D text call out referring to one of these typical details, then it is really important because then you want to mess with the numbering. But I'll show you how to fix that later just by using a V reference, and then you don't ever have to have this 2D call out that's specific of these numbers. So another item that I like to use is this JO tools here, and it's an add-in. It's called JO tools element renumber. You go here, click it, viewport, up here, one, and then you can just click like that and renumber all your details. All right. I'll put a link to the add-in also. Okay, we're going to move on to S004. And these are the views we need to add in this. There's a list. So we're going to go V. That guy. V, typical. Get that guy. Okay. Here it is. Space, operate. Okay. Graphic page. Notches. Let's see here. Yeah, so the order, we can fix the order here. By just dragging everything around, right? So you just move this over, move this. And this is painful stuff about Revit. You can also set up like boxes in the title block here to kind of help you organize some of the stuff. But right now it's just dragging everything around, just kind of visually doing it to see if it matches. The blue, if you can tell, the blue lines up the titles like that. And then we got a beam pocket we got to add. All right, so that's S004. The next one is this sheet. And then this typical hold down. See if we can find that. Maybe I put it on another sheet. Yeah, so what I did, if you guys didn't catch it earlier, was I put this sheet, this on that sheet. So if you want to move it to the other sheet, you just go here, grab that, go here, right? And then that dropped it. Dropped it right there. Line these up, move this down. Okay, and I think we have another thing that we're missing. So since we moved that off, right, there should be 10 details on this one. So we need V space sibling, that one. And then we need to see soil preparation. Right there is what we're missing. Yeah, I'm not gonna spend too much time reformulating all this stuff. But the important thing is just the numbering. So you'd rename these using that, using the J0, JO tools add-in. Okay, so let's just keep moving on here. We've got lateral system. And so then the next, it's going to be working on our foundation and our roof framing plans. And that's going to get into modeling everything. So these sheets, setting up 001 through 005, that doesn't necessarily need to take place at this point in the project. Yeah, I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what to do here, but you could set up your typical sheets at the end after you've done the main framing plans and the show plans, right? That's what I typically do. All right, so now we're back to the plan view. Now, the important thing we want to start doing is we want to start modeling things, all right? So we have this architectural model linked in, but we have no elements in our model, okay? So that's how we start creating the drawings is we're going to leverage the architectural model, use elements from the architectural model, move them into our model, and create our structural drawings. In our structural model, ideally, we're only modeling on the structural walls, structural beams, structural framing. You'll see we bring in windows and doors, but that's about it from the architectural model. And we'll bring in the roof, but change it to what we want, basically. Right? So let's start. And so I just start like this. This is the arc model. You can hover over it, see how it's wanting to select. You go here, copy to clipboard. You can do also Control C there. And then you can go here, align the same place, and that's AV. So if you hit AV, try that again, copy here, align the same place. Okay, see that? So it brought in the architect's walls, okay? And it's their wall, okay? So we want to move it to our wall, but right now, let's just go through here, select these walls, Control Tab, and so you use Tab to multi-select. Go here. You hit AV, that should work. Yep. Everything's got brought in. I'm going to go to the roof. Go here. AV. Okay, it's going to bring everything in. What else do we want to bring in from there? It's probably these little guys. We'll show just on our plans. I'm hitting Control, Tab. Then I can bring things in. Tab, click. Okay, that's fine. What else do we need to bring in here? And we have these foundation walls. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to do HE, which is height element. I'm going to tab, click that, HE, height element. And then I'm going to click these walls, Control. I'm holding Control, Tab. Yeah, let's just bring this wall in. Tab, click. I have kind of selecting on here. Click on it. Add everything we want in. I think so. Control C, AV. Okay, so now that's essentially our shell that's brought in. Now we need to convert it to our elements. And what we typically do is we'll just do we don't need a super thick wall because we only show structural. So I'm going to just change this to that. Okay, something's gonna have to, looks like it deleted a wall of mine here. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna copy this again. It's fine. So sometimes when these walls have like in the arc model, when they have these weird the profiles that they adjust, edit profile, see that, then it kind of messes up a little bit. I'm just gonna go here, TR, trim, just trim. I'm gonna just fix that. Maybe that's what's going on. Okay. And then these are 8-inch. Let's go SA, which is select all instances in view. So that's an 8-inch concrete wall. I'm good using that family, 8-inch concrete wall. Footings, you might have to do some new footing. This is in our model. So anytime you click on it and it shows like this, it's not grayed out, then that means it's in our model. The windows are in our model. I think that's pretty much it to move in. So now we can go to our plans, look at how our plans are looking. So the foundation plans. And so you're gonna, that's with the view templates and using a architectural link, you're gonna have to tweak the visibility graphics still a little bit. So I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna turn off my view template so that I can manage the visibility graphics. Okay. And then I'm going to go VG, and we, on the foundation plan, we want to keep all the stuff that was overridden with the visibility or the view template. But now the important thing is I want to go to the arc model. I'm going to go here. I'm going to do custom model categories on my foundation plan. Hit all. I'm going to turn all this off. So now you're managing what's shown from the architectural model. And since we brought in the items we want to show structurally, then we really don't need to show too much from the architectural model. Typically on the foundation plans, we want to show the walls. So we hit here, and then we want to show P for plumbing fixtures. Right there, and then let's see how that looks. Yeah, so everything else is going to be turned off. Hit OK. And then the other thing you need to do is make sure it's an underlay. Don't mess with, if you mess with this lower one, it's going to be another specific thing. So if you override stuff down here, it's not going to make an effect onto the plan. Yeah, so just stay at the upper level here. Go into that. So I hit that, apply, OK. All right. So now you'll see that this toilet is a plumbing fixture, and then this wall is a link. See that? So it's all grayed out. That means it's part of the link. It's not in our model. Okay. And so this is also from the architectural link. Save the project. Okay. Now that we've saved it, one of the other things too, if the architectural model has grid lines, you'll have to go ahead and go here, go custom, go here, go custom, turn off everything. Okay, hit apply. That's if they have grid lines, all right? So foundation plan is coming along. We have a scope box. Let's turn the scope box to studio, okay? And that's gonna cut everything. And then you see this layer here. Look down here when I hover over it and lower left of the screen, right down here. Yes, we don't want to show that in the view. I'm gonna hit PG. This is the very basics of visibility graphics. I'm not going to go too much into it because we're just moving through this course and getting things done, but you're going to want to turn that off, hit apply. So that's how you kind of manage visibility graphics. One other thing that I think we're missing here from the architectural model is the floor. Was there a floor? Tab. There it is. Control C, AV. Okay, that's fine. Foundation plan. There it is. Okay. And then I did TL, which is a shortcut for thin lines. Thin lines means it makes everything super thin. Okay. And then you can see things clearly. TL is more, when you do TL again, it removes thin lines, and then now it shows everything like it's going to show on plan. What you see is what you get. Okay. So the other thing they're messing up with here with visibility graphics is we want to see doors, we want to see those sort of things from the ARC model. It's always nice to see. So I can go back in here, custom. This is the one thing, yeah, like I said, the visibility view template, the Red's visibility graphics. This is the problem when you have architectural links a lot of times, is you've got to go in and manually do this in the link. Okay. And so we should be seeing, you see those there, and then you see them here. Okay, so you see the door here isn't really shown too clearly because the light bulb reveal hidden elements. It'll show you a few things that are kind of like hidden. The red means you can unhide it. These other things means it's an override in the visibility graphics. So I hit VG, go to door panels. Or doors, there's these panel things that are hidden. And that really shouldn't have been turned off in our shouldn't have been turned off in our view template. But this is a good learning thing for you guys to see what not to do. So so that's coming in. We've got the toilet. We're seeing this. Let's see what this is. Yeah, so this is the arc stucco wall that's coming in. I'm going to move our wall. Let's go look at our wall build up here. We've got 3/8 inch sheeting, and then we got some finish on the inside. So typically on my structural walls, if you don't want to finish, you just hit delete. And then that way it's going to change the wall and how it's shown. So we're going to want our faces studs lined up with our grid lines. That's what's going to happen. And there's also a little cleanup here. Let's do that. This is a concrete wall. This is a wall up above. So like I said, we're going to have to clean this up. So you see, this is our wall right here, goes to here. Here, that's a 5.5 inch stud. And then we had a sheathing on the wall, which was 3/8. So let's go here, edit. 3/8. So that's what that is. So our grid line is going to be lined up with basis studs. So basically we need to move this in. So it goes MB, which is move, click that, move to there. Let's align that closer to that. We got to do the same thing here. Okay, this is, you see, this is the arc model. There's the stucco. Here's our grid line. Let's go over here. Let's see if that's right. That's right. And then let's check this one. This one is not right. So hit MB. If you tried to arrow this, if you see, watch what happens. If I arrow this, you see how everything moves. So the walls are connected when you move them over, and so they move with each other. Sorry, let's redo this one. MB. Move it to there. That's why I'm doing the MB move, just because it's kind of they move together. I'm gonna hit MB, and sometimes let's do TL. Let's see, I can't really see the sheathing layer too well. This is our floor. Our floor needs to get moved over to, I think your wall might be wrong here. Let's see, TL. The other thing is these offsets. Yeah, so you see this wall here. So these walls are all connected. This one's playing a little weird because of, let's see here. We're not seeing the sheathing on this one right here too well. I have a feeling it's because of this weird, let's go here, reset. Okay. And then let's edit profile. I'm going to hit align. I'm going to click the bottom of the sheathing for now, or bottom of this roof for now. Okay. And then that messes with this over here. So let's do, oh, no, it doesn't. Let's do that. That might fix what we're seeing here. No, it's not. The main reason for me doing that is I'm trying to get the face of stud aligned with the grid line. You can also go like this. So you can do SEC, do a section, and then you can see what I have going on here. So this guy needs to get brought over. So the sheathing is sticking out over the wall. So face of stud is lined up with front of the wall. Okay. And so you're getting a little weird thing there going on. Plan a new. Hit the yellow again. These are walls. Here's our slab. Now we get into something called visibility graphics. So typically on the foundation plan, I go negative down below. If you want to see or learn more about view range, click this and go to that. But basically, I drop everything down -5 below that level. Remember, you're at this level we created the foundation plan off of. And then I jump up like 3 feet or something to catch the doors and all of that so we can see everything. And then some, yeah, I normally don't actually go that high. So let's see if we change that because we don't need to see too high up. Okay. Now I like to show windows up above and show like on the foundation plan what's going on. So in order to do that, you'd need to go kind of like, let's see, if we did the 10, you're seeing nothing showing up. There's this thing, but it's not really too clear, right? So we can do something called a plan region, and then you can do that at the windows, and you have to change the plan region. It's a view range specific for just that location. And so maybe if you changed it to that, you can see the windows now. Okay. And now we can see the wall that's above, which is kind of like a handy thing to do. And you see, so that wall needs to get fixed, right? So we do something like that. I'm actually thinking if we did, so if we move that over to there, we might actually just change this cut plane all the way up because of those windows, right? And then that shows, there we go. That actually works better. Now we see the windows and we see the walls up above on the concrete stem back here, right? So we still have this issue going on right here where my face is not aligned with my grid line. So I got to go in here, go MB, click the inside face, go to there, okay? And then there's the stucco on the outside. That's what you're seeing there, okay? And then we're seeing the windows and all of that, all right? And then, so now you as the preliminary drawing creator, you would throw in some foundations here. You could look at these sections and see what's going on. You have a stem wall. You want to throw in a foundation there. We've got this slab. I don't mess too much with the topo surfaces too much. But you have the slab on grade. You have this going on with the wall. So I'd throw in Go back to the foundation plan. I'll throw in some foundations. There you go. Structure, wall footing, which is FT. Typically here we do like a 16-inch typical all around if it's non-retaining. So you can, let's go to 3D. You can see what's going on here. So over here looks like we're going to need retaining, but I'll just put the 16 or I'll do the 16. The 16 there. We'll have to split this from foundation for later. Let's do 24 here. And then let's do a 3 foot right here. Let's do 3 foot right there. That guy came in from the arc. It was just like a placeholder. Sure, let's do that. And you could look at the topo and be like, oh yeah, the topo really drops there, but is that realistic? I think they're probably might still do like a 3 foot there, but that's gonna come from the engineer. And that's it. So let's see what the foundation plan looks like. Yep. So we got the floor modeled, we got the stem walls modeled, we align the walls to the grid lines. We've got our view kind of set up here. Got the foundations modeled. And yeah, that's kind of like the preliminary makings of the foundation plan. All right, so we've modeled up the foundation plan actually. And so we're going to go ahead and add annotations to this right now. So this is all just basing up the foundation plan before the engineer starts doing the calculation on it. It's either base or upper when you're creating these drawings. You know that there's going to be foundations on a perimeter. The perimeter walls are structural. And so, you need a foundation under them. The size of the foundation is going to vary. Typically, we do 16-inch foundation. That's 24 inches deep down to frost depth. This is for the northern Nevada area, Lake Tahoe area. Now, the reason we have different footings here was because of the retaining wall, right? When you look at the soil here, right, there's larger soil on the backside, so you need more concrete to resist the overturning. And if you take a look here, you can see how the soil kind of steps down, right? So I would actually probably change the footing size, maybe make the footing thicker here, change it to 24 here, and then do standard there. Right, and so let's do that. I'm going to click this on hide down here. Well, actually, I know where the step is because of how the arc had this modeled. So there's one step there, right? And then you put another step there. Yeah, there's one step there. So let's go. So let's do SL and hover over stem wall. We got that. So that's 24. Now we can change that to 16. Okay. This tag is pulling from this element here. So let's change it to there. Okay. So we've got some footing tags on here. Bring those close. Line them up. Do another CS. Go here. All right. So now those are annotated. I need one more right here. You know, you can change, like if we do that, it's off too, so that you stop doing that. All right. The other things that are the things that are on the foundation plan that are shown and modeled are the foundations, the floor systems, so slab on grade or floor joists. We call out the sill plates, which are for the shear walls. They designate the length of the shear wall. We call out the hold downs. We show grid lines. We show anything particular to the foundation specific, like there's these foundation steps. We do show like windows up above to designate where the trimmers and kings are. Right, so we can pull up our finished foundation plan. When it's a slab on grade, we call out the slab on grade like this, 4-inch concrete slab over 4-inch aggregate base, compacted 95% relative density minimum with number 4 bars at 24 inches on center each way. Provide socket control joints at 10 foot on center max. That's rack control. So like I said, hold down, we tag hold downs. We show hold downs and we tag them. We show the sill plate and then we tag it. We show the foundation, we tag it, and then we have dimensions so that they can build it. And then on this one, we copied in like the landscape wall just to show context with the foundation guys. And then these openings are there. And then, like I said, we show kind of like trimmers and kings from up above. Yeah, so you'll see this final, my view range on this was a little off, a little different than what we're showing here. Right. So let's go ahead and put in our sill plate. I'm going to do CM. This is sill plate. That's how we do our shear walls. Place on face or work plane. You can specify work plane or you can do place on face. I'm going to try place on face right now. I'm going to do full length. There's typically 3 types of shear walls. There's a segmented shear wall, meaning the shear wall only goes between openings. So if we were to do a segmented shear wall, it would be from here to here. And so the length of the wall isn't very long, so the forces are normally higher in these walls. There's also another type of shear wall called a perforated wall that basically you can have perforations in it, meaning openings. You can't have a door in it, but you can have windows. But these lengths on the pier lengths here can't be that small. They have to meet a certain aspect ratio. Okay, and then there's another type of shear wall which is called the FTAO, so force transfer around openings, so FTAO. And that's also full length one, and then you put straps up on the upper portion of the opening, lower portion of the opening. So like when I see a wall like this, I see some good pier lengths. I'm like, okay, we can probably do a full perforated wall here, get the forces down, pull down forces down, and everything. And so it's maybe simpler to build. And here on the West Coast, we call out sheathing all the walls. So they're going to sheathe all the walls either way. So it's going to be a 6 wall for shear either way. Okay, that's kind of laying out the shear walls. So like this one right here, I'm noticing something we're missing. We're missing our doors, right? Go VG. Doors. Maybe we don't have doors in here. Oh, it's curtain walls. That's what it is. Because these openings were made with curtain walls. They weren't showing up because of the door, so it's a VG thing. So let's do VG. We got to do this in. Not that we got to do it in here. VG curtain walls. It looks like they're showing. It's okay. So I found the issue. My link was unloaded, so I reloaded it, and so you see this underlay architectural link showing up, and then we can see the doors there. You can kind of see the doors here. If you're having issues with the view range and it's not working out, you can specify the view range to where majority of your stuff shows correctly, and then you can come in here and you can do something called a plan region. And with a plan region, you can control the view range in a specification different than this main view range. So I can go into here. Now this has its own view range. So I'm going to jump
We could jump up a little bit, see if I can cut some more here. Let's see. Okay, so I was messing with this and then showing that that's because we haven't copied anything in. So we could do this, like we could do this a few ways, right? Is you could copy in these guys like this if you wanted to. Do this, align the same place. And so So now you have some glass in here. That's going to show up, and then you can go here if you want to be more transparent. And I think you do. You want to communicate clearly like this. And you can set up a shortcut for that too. Okay, so now we have the glass in here, so you can see it pretty clearly now. It actually goes all the way this length. So let's delete that. Yeah, so there's no need for that. Okay, so there's, this clearly specifies the openings. All right. Okay, so let's just keep doing the sill plate thing here. It's wanting to, sit on the stem wall. That's why it's doing a face. That's fine. Also, these sill plates, right? You align them with gridline, which is face instead. This shear wall, I'm going to take all the way to. I'm going to take all the way to this opening here, and then let's do CM again. So I guess you see what's going on. It's getting hosted on the stem wall, which is fine. I'm going to pull this to that opening. So typically when you're laying out shear walls, you want shear walls on all four sides. Unless you're doing a cantilever diaphragm or a open front diaphragm or a three-sided diaphragm, all pretty much similar things. I'm going to do a CS again. This is a good length shear wall here, so I would do that. Okay. So if you take a look at this, we've got like a segmented shear wall here. We've got like a perf or an FTO shear wall here. And then we got a segmented shear wall here. And then a segmented shear wall here. All right. And then we need to tag these, so TG. This is for our shear walls. We do that on the shear wall plan. This is our anchor bolts. We'll do CS. All these are 6 walls now, which means the anchor bolts are 48 inches on center. Yes. You can do TG. Put that down there. I'm gonna main final finished product. I didn't have these in. I'm gonna delete those off. All right, so now we've added those anchor bolts. We've got the foundation modeled and tagged, and then let's do CL. We're gonna start putting pull downs in. Okay, when you put in columns, you want to do a height because we're at the foundation level and we want to go in up. And then I'm going to do lower plate right here. So at the ends of shear walls are hold downs. And so this wall, we basically, how we model this whole plate, you put a hold down at the end of that. That's it. So one thing you can do with these, you can do this tag on placement. Base. Okay, and then that's gonna tag it. We're gonna go here, tag that. We don't have shear wall there, so we're not gonna put anything there. We have a shear wall here. If you wanna get like really like exact, you do TL, which puts us right there. This on the shear wall right here. That right there. Okay. And then so at corner conditions, we only have one pull down because we have a detail that has shear transfer through the corner sides. And so you only need one pull down, basically. All right. So yeah, so at the corner connection, you're going to have shear transfer through our typical detail. So you only need one hold down at the corners where two shear walls come together in most cases. All right. So we have anchor bolts called out. We have hold down called out. We need these notes on there. So I'm just going to copy them. Yeah. Okay. So that's not working. For some reason, the Bluebeam, I'm going to do TX, which is text. I'm just going to do it like this. Slab. Sponge. Minimum width. 4 bars. 24 inches on center. I would just put this into AI actually and have it copy if what I just did isn't working, right? That's what I like to do if I'm doing long things of text. Okay. And I also just like to do this OC. I like to just do that to eliminate extra typing. So you can do that. Do this. I'm not sure we want the text maybe down here. Okay, drag that to there. That's center. Okay, so that looks good. So if we go through and check on this, I'm going to do P plans. I'm going to do a pen. Pen. So I'm in Bluebeam. Let's change this to 5. Yellow. Just a check. So I've got that. Right. What else do we have here? And actually, I like how this is better. The box is way better to do a box, right? So that it kind of jumps out. Let's change that to center. But I'm just looking at this. What do we have allowed? So we're missing some dimensions. We're missing the details, but we've got everything else kind of called out. One thing here is scope boxes to use. So this is aligned to the scope box. If we don't need the scope box that big, I would change the scope box down, right down to there. I think that's probably the best thing to do for now. But we might have to change it because we have overhangs up top. But then you can go like this, and then see how your everything goes to the scope box, you can hit SA, which is select all, reset to crop, or let's do maximize that and reset to crop. Okay, that didn't really do much, but I think because everything is already turned to 2D and not 3D grid lines. These are 2D grid lines now, not 3D. So the length of them is controlled in 2D and not 3D. Converted to a 3D, the length of them is controlled by 3D. All right, so that's looking pretty good. We might want to put some dimensions on here. We got that dimension, this dimension, this dimension, and then we're doing these dimensions here. Let's put that to there. We want feet in here, not. Let's do CS again. Move this over to here. 12 quarter is kind of a weird dimension. Let's do that. Go this dimension down to or step in. Let's go back to our template. We're stepping right there actually. So we should do right. That's the concrete wall below. This is the stepping wall. So actually, this needs to change to that, I believe. We had that at the 24. Here, 24. CS. Space. Move that out. Okay. Let's look at this. What else do we have here? We have some dimensions called out. Here you want to go with the grid line. Go here. Go here. Do this dimension. Let's save it. Okay, so you got dimensions on there. Okay, I'm looking here. We need this retaining wall situation called out. So we've got retaining walls. This is the toe. So it's kind of like a foot. So when you do a retaining wall, when the soil is pushing on this side, and we got like a slab on grade, that's our condition right now, and it wants to overturn, it's going to overturn about this point. So that's why it's called the toe. So it's like your foot, and then this is the heel. So on our case, you can see here, we have a larger toe. So we got to offset this. So in Revit, you can go over here. Actually, my bad, you can go here. So it would be a negative. I don't think it likes the negative here. Yeah, so it's a negative 1 foot this way, moves everything way too far in. So we want to go, I guess, kind of test this. If you go, we want that. Let's check this wall, make sure this is 36. Yep. Oh, I'm doing it from the stem for the cell. That's wrong. This needs to be on that. So I'll just kind of change this. Probably do 6 inches. So 1.8, yeah. So we only want 4. Right, so there's the 1.6. The heel. Okay, let's try this. What we do, -4. Or you could also like just click in here negative on negative 0.4, and that will work too. Okay, so that's that. So let's go here. Let's delete. Um, delete all this. And then what I was trying to do was do this, set as default, and then we can go off and check everything. So we got that, we got that, we got that, we got that. We've checked that, we've checked this. Got all that in there. These, we need to change our hold downs to match. So everything else is an HD2, except the ones on the front. Those are HD4s, perfect. So everything else is an HD2. You can do SA and then shift, go like that, right? And then now that's an HD2. Save this. We got that, we got that, 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 that. Okay. Now the only thing we're missing is these details, right? We normally come back and cut the details later. This is, this is a good setup for like a prelim foundation plan. Really good. You got dimensions, you got all this stuff kind of laid out on there. So that's it. That's the foundation plan, preliminary foundation plan. I'm gonna go to my sheet. I'm gonna hit V space, foundation plan, enter. Drop that guy right there. You always want like a north arrow. That's SY, north arrow space. Change it. That's matching this. So we got that good. We put this in the center. Looks a little better. So this is the sheet. So on the foundation plans, we have a footing schedule, we have foundation notes, and general notes, and then we have a legend typically. So that's a foundation plan. So we're gonna go V foundations. See the schedule. Footing schedule. There it is. So this footing schedule is live. It's pulling from what we modeled in here, and the rebar in each one of these is all what needs to be shown. Okay. So if you wanted to change this rebar, you'd go into here. I would change this to a let's do 3. Okay, and you change it like that, and then this is larger. Let's change that to okay. Then it's going to show up here. All right, what else do we need? B, foundation notes. Put that right there. Turn this on. Okay. So we're gonna P to this with that. We need a better notes, general framing, legend. I think this is a mix. Yeah, perfect. No title. Let's do title on that one. Framing notes, I think. Let's just create the sheet right now because we know we're going to need to do it, and I know what things need to look like. So we got, and then we got a framing schedule. Get that guy in there. B, legend. This, I think. Yep. And then what else do we have? This is live, so it's not going to show up until you have that modeled. We haven't modeled any framing yet. Framing nodes. We got this legend and then general framing. That's what we're missing. Oh, they're right there. Okay. I actually I think we're good. Let's see. We'll put those in the right location. Move these guys over, give us a little more space. These they're not live, so this is gonna populate when stuff starts going up, and it's gonna overlap our other text. So we're gonna have to come back to it later. All right. So there's the sheet set up. This is the foundation of our framing plan. Good. If we want to put anything in here, test job, and me, and then location. Wherever you type in the address here, whatever you can do, and that will show up on all the sheets. Okay, and then this I normally have this on here, so you can type it preliminary drawings. I call that the phase prelim review, maybe prelim review. All right, so that's we're approaching the end of our foundational plan here. The only other thing I'm missing here is we're typically show the framing too. So like for these openings, you'll see the king studs and the trimmers come down. So I did CL, and I'm gonna just start with typical this, which is 2x6, 1 2x6, 1 2x6 king. My bad here. It's headers. It's this one right here. Trimmers and kings. Okay, so this only has one type, but this is how it works, is it moves back and forth like that. You set the base level. This doesn't really matter. How you control it is by doing these. So if the trimmer height is that tall, or it's like 7 foot, it's going to change the trimmer. So let me show you what's going on in 3D here. If I grab that over there, I do this, I can change this. 12 feet, everything grows, and then this should drop down. See that? So it just kind of moves. Look, I just broke it. Something's going on here. But if I do, that seems to work. Okay, so that kind of moved nested header in here. You can change, right? And everything updates, and you can also tag this per plan. All right. So we're going to go around the foundation plan and add those in. All right, so that's how you control this guy. I don't worry too much about, at this point, too much about the height for now. And we'll probably have to come through and fix some of this stuff a little later. But let's go to the sheet. Let's go to the foundation plan. Okay. We can move this guy back in within the view. See, that's a scope box for our plan view right there. Move that in. So it shows up. Okay. So there's only, right now, it's two 2x6 trimmers and two 2x6 kings. So we're showing 4 members, right? So for a door like this, you're not going to need. See, so this is the door, and then typically there's like some sort of rough opening right there. It's actually large. That's larger than normal with a rough opening. Let's see here. Yeah. So we could push that to pretty close to right there. The rough openings normally like an inch or so larger total. So it's like half inch, 3/4 inch each side for shimming for these openings. So what I was saying is you don't need like that many studs at the opening. So you can come in here, edit type, duplicate, okay? And then, okay, so if we want this to be one king or one trimmer and then one king, we go here, change the name, and then we need to turn off like this extra king and then T2. So now there should only be 2 members, right? And then, okay, and then I move this opening in. You can also go here and let's see. Actually, that's not working. That doesn't work too well on this one because this is the opening. This is the parameter that's calling this opening here. So as you see, because we had those, we turned off those other studs, then the opening parameter is not exactly lined up with what it is. I mean, you could probably do, yeah, that's not going to work out well. That's not going to show up right in 3D. So I just normally use this and put the stud close to the opening like that. Okay, so there's that. For this opening too, we'll probably need just the same studs and everything. This guy right here in the front, it's kind of a tall wall. So I'm going to change it to the other one. Put the stud like that in the wall. Do it right there. Move this over. And then what I typically do is since we have a hole down here, I go here, go to there, and I overlap these because the hold down is going to go to the kings, right? And so now that looks correct, right? When you tag it, you're going to move that over to there. Okay. We can tag these on the roof plan if need be. So yeah, that shows that opening. I'd probably go here, space, move this guy to here. Do the same thing over here. Okay. I'll say single on this one or a single trim king. You know, we're not making this for manufacturing right now. This is a stick built in the field, so we're not entirely tied to being 100% accurate on the placement of this. You could do, I normally do something like this, where we have a king, I have the extra king lined up with the single king for the opening. So then there's going to be 2 kings here. This is a hold down there. So I do it. Go here, space, move this to the opening. this guy keeps moving. Because I don't have it modeled correctly. Maybe. Yeah, so that aligns to there. Move this to there. That works. Move this guy over. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, so now we have all the framing in the openings. Around the openings, you can go here to your 3D view. You can kind of see things. You want to see things a little better. Let's go the 3D views. Maybe structural only, right? The VG. I'll do this, apply, VG, walls. Let's make the walls a little transparent. So you can kind of see what's going on. The sky needs to move up a little bit, right? I don't spend too much time on this, but you can automatically see we're having a conflict here with this opening. Our header needs to be like super small, right? So we're gonna catch that. You know, that's something to catch in the design or something. Later in structural design. This guy 8-foot head height, right? So we gotta go through. So all of these, oh, that actually works. All these are 8 foot. These, you see the king is too tall. You can change it like this. Maybe 9.5 on this side. Don't spend too much time, like I said, on that. You see, the issue is if we do that, it's going to offset from the top slab, right? Pretty view. I just get it approximate close for now because we don't have the roof on there yet. This again, you can kind of see we don't have that much header height. I might change this to that. And then let's change the total height to 9. Just get it down below the roof. Same here. Kind of see what's going on there. That's kind of give you an idea of like all the studs are like 12 foot, 12.6 over there, and then on the other side here, they're like, 11. So when we do our calcs, we can kind of grasp that quickly. All right, so there's those. We're gonna have to fix our walls again, like I said, and on where a roof is. But those are the opening. I'm not too worried about this. Like I said, we're not doing manufacturing, we're not doing coordination. It doesn't affect too much. It doesn't affect our CDs, our construction drawings. All right, so that's the foundation plan. Okay, so now we're gonna work on our framing plan. I'm gonna go structural plans. So the foundation floor plan, the foundation is a floor plan, so it's looking down. And you can do it as a structural plan looking down also, either way. But the main difference here is it's looking down, it's not looking up. So you cut 4 feet up essentially, or approximately. It can change, and then you look down. And this is called view range. If you don't understand view range, you could look some of that up. I just read right now, I'm just going through the execution of these drawings. So you might have to look some stuff up as we go through here. And then the next thing is the framing plan. So I like to do my roof frame plans that I cut down and then go up. So I do a section here. So anytime if you do like a section or detail and you see something's not showing up, or anytime I'm planning to see something that's not showing up, it's either controlled by the BG, right? Or a filter. So this is control. There's a filter control in this. I gotta go here, not use build, let's turn on visible. Okay. So that's what's going on. Good thing to remember. TL. Um, yeah, so this is our roof framing plan. With basically, you see the wall below. There's always some sort of manipulation you have to do here to make things look okay. So you'll see something here. Let's do it. See, so we copied in this roof from the ARCS model, right? Let's see, we just copied that one. I don't think we copied this roof. Yeah, so let's go here. We're in the same place. Okay, so there's our roof, right? So then I like to change all our roofs. I like to change all of those to, I like to change ours to 5/8 plywood, 5/8 plywood. And then the other thing I like to do in these working sections, you can create a view template if you would like. So here's the view template applied. I like to have, this is a working section. I like to have the Revit linked as a underlay so that I can see what's theirs and what's ours. Okay, change this view range. Okay, so this is a straight section. So you can see what's going on here is when I change that roof, it dropped our roof down. So we got to move this up to align with their roof right there. And they have, I guess they modeled this with like two roofs. We got what's going on. It's like just to get, because I guess they want this sort of thin profile of the roof right here. And then they want, we're going to get structural framing on the inside that's thicker. Okay, so we just aligned our roof with theirs. So that's okay. So you can see this is why I do the half dome. You can see the arc wall right here, and then our just structure fits inside it and supports. That's why I do that. So we need some framing in here. Our roof elevation is matched. This guy, that's a trimmer, that should be down there. And then as you can see, there's some stuff going on here. Like we don't have that much space for structural here. And then we also need structural down there. Because what happens when wind hits this wall, we need some sort of support here to carry that load. Because the wind's going to hit there and want to go up and down to the foundation and the diaphragm. But we don't have that much space here, so you guys think about that. So what thickness is our wall here? Let's go 2x6. And then this is it's an 6x12, 6x6, 6x8. And 6x8 should fit, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that works. Okay, so now we want to put some sort of framing on here. As you can see, this is kind of weird. This is like this, so there's something called line weights. You can override line weight. And actually for our scenario, that was the arc. We don't actually, yeah, so there's something called line weights. I won't do this too much. You could either do this and then you're hiding the line weight of that other roof. See, it's kind of a pain. Or what I would prefer to do is just leave this roof and then do just do my sheeting. Because here's the thing, your roof sheeting is not going to have two different types of like they're not going to be modeled separately. The roof sheeting, it's just going to be continuous. So I'm going to do this. I'm just going to make that inner roof match like the whole roof footprint, because that's how it's going to actually work in the real world, and it helps us out with visibility graphics. Okay, and then I'm going to tab and I'm going to delete the other roof. Okay, let's chat section. I deleted the wrong roof. Go here again, okay. Edit, Control Z, and then got the roof back. All right, so now this is how you put in your framing, BS, which is beam system, and ask for you to set a plane. You should set a plane ahead of time. Pick plane, I go like this. I hover, and then I tab, and that gets the roof plane essentially. And then I do BS, the beam system. That's fine. I'm not doing a one click. And I just go like this for now. You'll see there's some things we need to change. This is the direction the framing's going, and then you can choose what sort of framing you have. Okay, there it is. And then B is tag this. That's a beam system tag. Now it's tagged. All right, that's pretty easy. You can see my framing, all my framing the beams, because there's actually beam element model and all. You'll see that it's showing up there. You can see that it's sticking out of the wall. So we can hide those. Let's do an SA. Select all. Header size just needs to be a 6x so it fits in the wall. Go over here. Okay, so it fits in the wall. And then you can see this header also. It's like showing up in the course view. You can see it's like broken. Like it just, we'll have to fix that. But the other thing I don't like about visibility graphics here is this is not showing white here. So we can try to change this to see if this helps us. -3 maybe. Because we need to drop down inside this opening and cut and look up. So like our view range, so this is wrong. Also, is this working? Edit pick a plane. Oh, I got the arc model. That's a problem. It's supposed to be the bottom of those guys. Okay, there it is. So yeah, so basically our view range is doing this. It's gonna cut here, and then it's gonna show things open like white, and then it's gonna look up and grab this whole area. Okay, so that's what the view range is doing when we change it right here. And maybe, maybe we need to do, yeah. Oh, actually, that's okay. That actually worked. So we were going too low. We actually need to come up. So now we can see the openings. Well, white. I think I have the arc model showing in here. Let's go. Yeah, so this is the arc model. So remember we wanted to disconnect the two. We want to disconnect the two models visibility graphics. So I'm going to go into here, the Revit link. I'm going to go here. I'm going to change this to custom. I want to show this custom all. I don't want to see anything unless I don't want to see. I don't want to see anything other than the walls. Okay. Now the arc walls are going to show up like I want them to do, and I want them to show up like have to. So let's go here, walls, and I'm just going to clear these overrides. Okay, so now the walls show like that. It needs to be an underline like that. That's what we want. Okay, so everything's kind of an underline now. And then you see what happened to my roof here. Now my roof disappeared because my beam range is to -1.5. No, you see, so now that's messing with the other stuff. So and I think that I'll bronze out of that. I just mess around with the line weight. So line weight, go here. That's what happens. Change it back to by category. Boom, there it is. Let's save it. All right, so now let's pull up our roof framing plan, see what we need to put on here. So roof framing plan is going to show grid lines, it's going to show details, it's going to show framing, it's going to show framing callouts, so beam system tags. It's going to show the individual member tags. So whenever we call out a member, we put a beam joist or a beam calc, a calc tag associated with it. When we're calling out like opening studs, so trimmers and kinks, and if it's more than the typical, which is one trimmer, one kink, I like to tag them like we did here. Well, what else? Roof framing plan is going to show, like I said, hangers, dimensions, structural fascia, straps. If the plate's getting broken, you want to strap it because the double top plate on wood structures is a cord or boundary element needed for all the diaphragms. So you always want to strap them, and we had to do that right here because we're pushing the header up. Okay, what else? Yeah, beam system callouts, and then any special notes associated with it. And then we also show the roof slope. And then we also show headers too. So these should be showing headers. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and work on creating that plan. Oh, and so one thing I didn't talk about here is so because we have this member back here, we're doing that to pick up this cantilever, this overhang. And then what happens when these members get to this corner is there's nothing to support it. So you need this thing called a structural fascia right here to kind of infill frame and pick up this corner. So how this works is just ties into these right here, and then it comes back this way and picks up this little bit of overhang. And then it's going to tie into the fascia that's right there. Okay, same thing here. And these overhangs are so small, there's not that much load in them. But yeah, that's what the structural fascia does. It's kind of, you don't want this unsupported corner to fall down. Okay, so we're gonna reframe this and show how that just basically reduplicate this framing here. like this plan showing. Okay. So let's start down here. I'm just going to drag this down, edit boundary. We know we have something like this. Okay. Something with beam directions when you go, you specify it this direction, right? And then it's going to start the framing spacing at the direction line. So it's going to go 1.4 from this direction. I use direction line. You can use center, beginning, and all of that. I just start here and then frame it one direction. The other thing, let's look at this. What did we have? So we're calling 2x6 out at 1.4 on center. Basically, that's what's going on. So it's a 2x6. Okay, it should be tag this. It should be tagged. These should be tagged. So you'll see that, yeah, this was just a glitch. Somehow this got deleted when I was creating this sample project. You should have, so it's not showing up in this PDF, but yeah, all the headers, all the openings should be tagged. And then we do, like our headers are typical openings. Typical openings are 6x8s. Gonna be 6x8s. Right, you see that, so everything changed. These are different because longer. But let's keep, so down here, we had some dimensions that we called out here. I'm going to do this with an RP reference plane, right? We had 8 foot minimum. There it is. Doesn't have to be all. Go here, right? And then you can, so then you can call that out. What did we say? It's 8 foot minimum length of fascia. Control A, Control C. I'm going to go to the other one. Okay. What else? This is, let me put a dimension here. This is 1'6". Okay. That's also, let's do the roof again. Yeah, so this should be PL. Yeah, so this roof should be, we should try to do, if you want to try to do like nice round dimensions, right? So let's do, it should be like this, I believe. Yeah, 3'2". And then you see 1'6". Yep, and there it is. 1.6 right here. Actually, down here is 1.4. So let's redo. Go here, 1.4. Hopefully that updates. Yep, good. If we go here, we did this, we did this, we did this. I'm gonna call out a hanger. So how I do my hangers is right now we only have these 2x6s down here. So I'm gonna do an SA, and then I've got a symbolic line in here. Or symbolic I don't know what you call them. They're symbolic connections, essentially. And so that's how I do my hangers. Let's move this in because we moved that. And then you can also, so these are connecting to that frame. Remember, that's why they're so offset like that. That's fine. LRU 26Z hanger. DX. Tip. It should not be that. It should be standard text. All right. Go here, P. We did that. Go here, PG. This down to there. We got this. Let's turn this to 3 1/4 by 14-inch LVL. Back up. And then we do this, H24. Okay. These are typical. Let's change these. Yeah, 6x6. And then 6x6. So like it down there. They don't need to be large. Let's tab. Let's get this. I remember TG. TG again. For some reason the framing, we're not seeing the framing number in this one. So the tag is connecting to that. You see that? And so this one, if my family broke, it's not pulling it. So that's fine. I'll have to come back and fix it later. See this one, it's right there. Yeah, so these all need to be 6 by. I'd say this one needs to be a 6 by 8 because it's a little bigger opening. All right, what else do we need to do here? Oh, we need to tag this. I just tag a singular one normally, and then I do this RJ1. So that's going to be identified with our roof calc. We're going to do roof calculations going to be RJ1. And the loading is going to match what we need for this. Roof slope RF. That's my tag. Okay, so then, okay, let's fix this, align that, make that look neater. Don't double click, because then it's going to go into the family. Let's save this. We got that, we got that, we've got that, we've got that. Oh yeah, I forgot. So to pick up this overhang, remember the arcade. Okay, so this doesn't have our view template applied. So I'm gonna do this, apply, boom, and then I can see what's going on. So if you can see the arc here, remember they had only like they only wanted the roof to be this deep. Move this up too. They only wanted the roof to be this deep, and then when it hits the wall, it jumps down, and then we can have our framing right there. So what we need to do is you need to do 2 by 6 cantilevered out. They're going to be sistered onto this existing. It's going to go, something like it's going to tie on to the existing cut back like that. We're going to nail it in like that, but this is going to be the main roof structure here. It's going to stop right there. So that's what we're showing. We're going to go here. We could have changed that previously, but that's fine. Change it. Okay. And then I'm just going to move this over, edit boundary. Something like that. I'm going to start framing from right. That's right here. Let's try that. See what happens. Okay, so then, yeah, so then that, and then move this down. Okay, so we got this framing tie into there. That's fine. This is going to tie into there, and then the fascia is going to come around there. Yes, the fascia is going to support it. That kind of cantilevers out, and then it's going to cantilever to there. So that's fine. That corner supported fine. I think in the detail, let's detail 6. You know, we have 3 feet, right? So you'd go. I gotta change this too. This comes back 3 feet. Right. And then we're gonna go. So we're gonna mirror this because it can just go to the other side. On the center of the cover, SM. But do that. So then that rotates. We gotta do another tag CS. Boom, there's that. Boom, that. Okay, it's kind of clean those out. Oh, if you can see, I have a wrong framing member in here. This is a 2x6. Go here, 2x6. Okay, done. This is that header. I'm gonna move that in. Okay, and so now we're getting closer to this location here. What else? Oh, we need some structural fascia here. Okay, we're gonna keep working our way around here and doing this the roof framing plan here. Okay. So the other thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get framing. We're gonna do the framing for the overhang here. Double click, move this to there, move this back. So our framing direction is gonna go from here. I'm gonna start framing over here, right at the edge. It's gonna be 2x6. Okay. And then generate it. Yeah, I'm sorry, CS, and I click that. Okay, let's go back to what we were doing here. Okay, so we just had the framing go like this. It looks like TRs, trim. Okay. And then we got framing right here. So you see it's not really calling one out right here. So let's change that. Do that. Because it's going to start. So essentially, if we want one to start framing here, we're going to make this 1 foot 4 from there. That's how you control the boom systems. Do 1 foot 4 like that, and then I'll put one right there. And then the other thing we didn't have a dimension here, so let's go check this 4. Typically, this is like a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 backspan. So this is 1. If this was 1 foot, you'd multiply it by 3, and you get a 3-foot backspan. I would go here, I'd go here and I'd go dimension from here to there for this RG2. Let's go measure, length, tools, measure, set scale. Actually, okay, so this is good. The scale's set. Let's measure length. I'm gonna go from here back. So it's right now I have at 3 foot 10 3/4 to center. I'd probably just round that up to like 4 feet.
But twice.
Let's do this again. Do that. Click on that. Sometimes it won't give you the temporary dimension, so you just kind of got to arrow it. Zoom in, zoom out. If you zoom in closer, it's gonna move it small amounts. If you zoom in large, like that much, it's gonna move it further. See that? So let's go there, 4 feet. Okay. And then we're gonna do this one right there. So this is how I make it show up like a girder. Change it to a girder or like a beam. That's how we show our beams. We go here. This is 2. I think this is 2. Fix this is overlapping. Call this let's fix this as call that RJ2. Alright, so we've going around here. We've got that guy. We don't have that. Um, let's change this. Just right there. Bring it hangers. Not that one. This hanger. Okay. That's going to be like that. Okay. What else do we have going on here? Let's see. Oh, those are called out. So the load on the fascia right here is not much, but typically if you're going to do a structural fascia, you're going to call out like an inverted hanger. So let's do this. Call this L or U, C, inverted, right? And we don't want that boxed. And then we want to call out a hanger here. I'm gonna select all these like that, do shift to deselect, do a filter here, structural framing, and then do my hanger. That's the wrong end. Yeah. This one doesn't have to be inverted because it's not a structural fascia, it's just a beam. Okay, normally you do it if there's like an uplift. Because of this cantilever, might be an uplift, but you would check that in the calcs. Right now, I would just do it normal. Okay, let's go back to this. We don't have the structural fascia called out, so I'm gonna call that out. We have it going back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And so what I did for that structural fascia is you do the line weight. You do line weight. Like that, and then you drag this down. See that? And just drag this down. To where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. And then we call this out as, structural fascia 2x6. I did a control drag on that, delete that, rotate that. Two by six. Okay, so 2x6 structural fascia. And ideally you put a dimension on this. That's really what should have been put on there. That should go from here to here. It's that there. This is the problem sometimes if you're doing this sort of stuff. You might want to move that. Yeah, just a quarter. You kind of override it like that. Okay. And then we wanted to do this call out. Copy. All right, so we're going to call out the attachment. Like that. I'm going to kind of move it up there, so it's out of the way. Again, let's fix this. If you do TX, change that. Now this will be the default text that comes up, okay? That's good now. Okay, we've got a strap right here that we're calling out. The yellow we use right now, we use a line for these. Let's go down, strap. I type 0.28. It's 28-inch long strap. Call out's going to be like that. You can type it in, or you can just copy it. Yeah. Move this down to here. So this section is not referenced, so it's going to go away. Okay, the X or TG. That there. Control drag. Do that. Okay, we're going to call this out. And like if you're doing preliminary drawings, you probably won't, you're not going to know this sort of text stuff. You're not going to know how to call this out. So you would just, you'd get a framing call out and then call it good. Not like something like that. Move this down, clean it up. Okay. Go to here. Okay, we wanna have that called out. This is actually right up there. That's actually a better spot for it. See, when you're doing the dimensions or call outs, you just kind of got to move stuff around to make it look okay. And then there's that. We need another strap over here. That's good. And then we've got to do the other side. I may have mirrored that sooner. I should have. Go here, SM, click that. All right, and then typically we don't call out, like if it's the same stuff on the other side, I don't think we call it out. We call it out here. You could add verbiage like tip here, meaning typical, meaning like at all the locations. All right, here's, I'll put another reference plane. I'm gonna do RP, and then this can match up on the other side. So we did this with line weight, beam girder. I click that, and I drag this guy all the way down to here. Okay. Yeah, so if you click out of that, you gotta, if you want to go back into it, you gotta do that. Just click the thing you had overridden. You get back into it. So you do line weight, you click that, and then that brings up that. Don't click that. It's just a text. Grab this over. You line these up. There you go. Okay, let's see what else we're missing. And we're missing a call out here, right? So this is going to be a one order. Let's try that. I think it's that one. No, it's a hash. Right, and then we'll tag it with the move this up. There's HD4. That's going to pop up. This one, you'll see something like that happens with that error when I typed in HD4. There's another item in here is HD4. I think I may have done it for that guy. Let's go check. Yeah. Let's go here. HD1. Okay, so now you won't get that error. So like I would, so when I'm going through, when you're basing up these drawings, right now you're just copying stuff. The reason we have HD1 and HD4 was these ones got deleted previously, and that's why they're not showing up on these drawings when I was cleaning the template. But basically, you'd go, if you were basing this up, you'd go in HD1. I go in and I start, let's do HD2. I go in and I start determining what calcs I'm going to do, right? And so you as the drafter, you could go in here and lay these out. You know, you can, these two are the same, so it's going to be same calc. You don't necessarily even need to do HD2 over here, because when we do the calcs, we know that that's the same distance as that one. The reason that's changing when I change that other one is because there's a tag associated with this tag. It must be pulling from that or something. So I'm going to do an independent tag. So it's just going to tie to this guy, right? That's just this guy. Okay. Pass this guy. So now this tags to that guy. So when I go in here or here and I change it, HD2, it's not going to change that guy. But so you'd, like I was saying, you'd come in here, identify the calcs you need to do. You know you need a rafter calc, you know you need calc for one of these probably, calc for one of these, calc for this, and that's how we dictate what calcs need to happen. Okay, so this would probably be do an HD3 on it. Okay, and then this one could be a typical header. They're 6x6, 6x8. I'm tabbing. It has to get, oh, that's right. This one is the error. If it's not, if you don't see this in the family, then there's an error with the family and it's broken because this tag is pulling from this item that's modeled in the family. So it broke when I did it too small. So I'll have to go fix that. And then this one, so we got HD1, HD2, HD3, so we need an HD5. So I call this like HD5. Right, so once you do the calcs, these can change based on the actual calcs. Let's go here. We did this, we did that, we did that. Okay. And that's, I mean, that's pretty much it. The roof framing plan basing it up. You don't have details yet, but if you knew where to cut details and you had some details to cut, you'd go through and start cutting them. Oh, let me fix this because this is really close. And then this has got to get dragged onto the plan. I'm going to do SA here, reset 3D extends, maximize 3D extends. And I'm going to say, now we're going to crop the view by this. Okay, there you go. And everything's cropped essentially to this annotation crop. Move these in. So I'm trying to do, I'm trying to fix these. The only way to fix them actually is to just manually move them in, right? Right now, unless you take off the scope box, maximize 3D extents, and do all of that. So this is just normally the fastest way to do it. Okay, so that's fixed. That looks pretty good. I would drag this onto a sheet, go down to here, go with B, your framing plan, drop that in right there, move that up. You can do this. See this, that blue line will auto line things up. Maybe move these down a little bit. So you see our framing schedule auto populated here. All here. Let me move this over to here. For some reason it's not, I'm not liking how it's lining up. To align these views like that. And then there is a filter. Like when I start like getting close to the end on the plans, I apply this filter to turn off the not used views. Okay. VG filter. Filter. Okay. So then you can enter it. Filter, visibility, turn that off. And then that'll filter out those both referenced. Okay. And then you can turn off that so that it looks even more cleaner. Okay, let's zoom out. And then you can kind of see those manipulations I was doing with the crops. So basically what we can do is we can go like this, turn this off, do SA, maximize 3D extents, reset to crop so that stays the same. Studio crop. And then let's go here, turn off the scope box, don't crop the view, hit SA, reset 3D extents, maximize 3D extents, Turn all this on to Studio. Okay, and there it is. It's the same as the other view. See that? That's one way to do that. I got my grid line overlapping here. Let's see if I can just move this stuff over. All right. So those are the plans, the foundation and the roof framing plan. Might line this up a little bit. Move this over to there, even though it's on the same plan. All right. So those look, that looks actually pretty good. So that's the foundation and roof framing plan. That's done. All right, so now that we've done that, let's go to the 3D view here and see what's going on. So this 3D view is this home view. This is the default one. Let's do the structural only. Structural only. Let's make sure. Yeah, we got to turn this off. Okay. And then look, we got something going on with this wall. So let's click that. We can do this a few ways, but right now we're just going to do it in a line. Let's choose the bottom of the roof sheeting. And then hit OK. And then we got this little guy. This is always the issue with these families. You got to be kind of careful with them. All right. And then this wall, you can edit the profile. Go like this. Okay, TR. Edit it. Okay. Oh, what else? And then the other thing I was talking about with these families, they're a little messed up. Yeah, we can fix that later. You'll see that's happening right there. Okay, so 3D view is fixed. And then let's go to a Shear plan. This is a Shear plan. We're going to get a Shear plan going. Our Shear plans are floor plans. So what we have here, and they're basically 4 feet up above, looking down. They're not showing any foundation. It's more like a floor plan. And it's solely for clearly communicating the shear wall requirements, the hold down requirements, and what the shear wall nailing is. All right, so here's the shear wall plan. The shear wall plan is a floor plan. So we're going to drag and drop that on to our sheet. And then you want to define the scope box to studio. All right. And I'm going to just center that on the sheet. And then you can, you want to show hold downs, sill plates, and shear wall nailing on the shear wall plan. And so you see we're missing the sill plate on the back side here. So we've got to change our view range. Let's go in here. So turn this off because there's a template applied. All right. So the template's applied. We turned it off. And so we're not seeing something here. We're not seeing the sill plate. And that is due to the view range, most likely. Hit 7, 5, something like that. So a lot of times, if something's not working, I'm thinking it's supposed to work, then I'm going to do a section. And actually, we already have a section. We've got to go to that to investigate what's going on. So our view range here is showing this. It's 6 feet up. That's the view range of 5.5. So it's going 5.5 up from here, right? And then it's cutting. So the other thing we might be a modeling issue. You see that? So it's actually the sill plates down at the base. And then there it is. So that was the issue. And then we gotta reverse it. Okay. All right, so that was our initial modeling problem that we just fixed. Let's see these. Yeah, so these are at the heights. There it is. See, so it's on top of the stone. So that's right. Okay. So our shear walls are in here. And we do TG. That's the anchor bolt call out. We want the shear wall call out. We don't need that. And also the view. We don't need the view showing up in here. Or the non-reference views. We go here. So there's also it's space to rotate it. Turn that to there. We can also do a tag all, right? We can go annotate, tag all. So you can do that, right? Another thing we can do is a column tag. And it's going to tag all the columns. It's also going to tag all the hold downs, and it's going to tag all the columns, which, I mean, either way, you can do that. You hit apply. See, so all the hold downs are tagged, but now you got to go through and delete them. So you could have done that with shear walls. Okay, so that's it. Shear wall plan shows walls, shows hold downs, shows sill plates or shear wall lengths, and that's pretty much it. All right, now that we've got the shear wall plan completed, we're gonna go ahead and get it onto the sheet. So we're gonna go here, we're gonna create our shear wall plan sheet. I'm gonna go shear wall plan, drop it right there. And then we need a legend. So you would go to your you would go to this. You need shear wall legend, hold down schedule, shear wall schedule. Hit V. There's a shortcut. Drop that right there. V. Drop that right there. And then do V again. I'll hold down schedule. Drop that right there. Okay. And then select all of these. Turn off the title. No title. And then center this guy to there. All right, that's it. That is your shear wall plan. It's created. You have your shear wall plan, or I'm sorry, your shear wall sheet, basically, but you've got your shear wall plan, shear wall legend, hold down schedule, and shear wall schedule. And you show the shear walls, you show the hold downs, you show the shear wall length, and you show the extents of the shear walls, basically. And that's it. All right, then let's go to our 3D view here. So this is a 3D view with the link. I'm going to go to 3D view structural. And so a 3D view structural looks like we still have the link turned on. So you'd go turn that off. This is, if you hit VG and this is halftone, that means there's a view template. So click the view template, go edit here, go here, turn off the arc model, and then that modifies the view template. So now this is just our structural. And then see, this doesn't, I don't like how this is looking without the, those pads. So let's just hit the light bulb down here. I'm going to select those, hit tab, select, copy to clipboard, align the same place. All right, and then that's going to show up in our views now, and they'll show up in the 3D. So that's that, fixing the structural plan. I'm going to save. It's fixing our structural 3D view, basically. Okay, and so then next we're going to go through and add on the details to the sheets. All right, so we edited this view template here, and that's applied to this view right here, this no link, and this view. Okay, now we need to add these onto a sheet. We'll go down to S301, V, A, 3D view right there. Okay, select both of them, drag and drop them right there. Okay, now those are on S301, the 3D views. And then now it's time to start adding the details. We're going to go to S501, and then we're going to pull up our sample sheet. So the best thing you can do when you're creating preliminary drawings is try to get an idea of what details you need. So if you have a detail library, you can just throw those on. And typically I do S501 for foundation and S601 for framing details. This one we only have one sheet, and it's just called details. It could be called foundation and framing details, something like that. All right, so now we're going to go through and cut these details. I'm going to keep this on the side here. Okay. The first one we're going to do is overhang. Well, let's add these onto the sheets first. So it's going to be footing at garage, hit space, B. It's going to be this one. Yours is going to be at footing at garage. And then we name it to footing at stem. Next one, you're going to be putting next to your slab, B. Footing at to your slab. Add that. Overhang up both side. Drop that onto there. All right. The other thing you can do is if you have PyRevit installed, you can go views, add views to sheet, and then we can just search them like that, right? And do overhang at raised header, that guy, typical retaining wall. Overhang at right wall. We've done that and that one, I believe, and the low side. We haven't done that yet. Okay. Add them to that. There they are. They show up. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know really what's. You can kind of take your pick. You still have to move them around and do all of that. Overhang it. Almost I already have that one. Like that. I'm gonna do it like that. And now those are on the sheet. So you see that these are on the sheet now. we just got to renumber them because when they came on at different numbers. And then now we're going to go to our framing plans. I like to do this, pull this out, and then keep this somewhat separate. You can also do, go do the view tile. Go up here in tile views. You can do this, or you can do a horizontal view tile. So then we can start cutting the details. Overhang at high side plate. You can go SEC and then cut your detail. Go up here, 7 at 501. See, so it's not showing up because of that. Yeah, it's called the annotation crop. So I'll change that to there. One way, so like I said again, if you have a view, if you're doing a section or something and something's not showing up, that means there's a view filter applied. So go here. Let's turn this on. So one way when you're detailing, we're not going to go into this right now, but you can cut a live section and go look at this and be like, okay, does that match my detail? And you kind of look at that, look at this. You can turn off the model or the arc model, turn this to medium, and then look at that. Does that kind of match? Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of how we do live details. And we'll even do live details and put 2D components over them and create these details. That's how these details are created. Okay, so I'm going to add that filter again. Okay, go to this guy. So I just grab a tab, grab that, call it 4, whereas 501. All right, and then what else? We got something on the low side. We can do SEC also. 3, that's 501. And then this is 6. And I always, if you want to figure out your direction, you go that you're looking, I just like ask myself, overhang on the right. So I'm going to cut this way so it overhangs on the right. STC, go 6, that's 5, that's 501. Go to this side, connect there, change this, turn this on. Go here, make sure that's right, 6, okay. Those are all our roof framing details. VD, which is view deactivate, go into the foundation plan, go 5 here, SEC, go 5, that's 501. The slab's on the right, that's the direction. All right, and then this is typical putting an exterior slab that occurs up here. Your slab's on the left, so I'm gonna have to cut the other direction. Okay, and then this one is soils on the left, so the interior is on the right. So SAC 01, that's 501. Go like that, go here, put the detail, go here. All right, so those are the details added to all the sheets. And you can also, like QC, I typically just go here. P is my shortcut. And I check, okay, we got those, we got that one, we got that one, we got that one. Okay, and then, we got these on here. So that's good. So you're checking off everything. Keep going. Let's go to the Shul plan. Yep, we got all those on the Shul plan. Good, good. All right. Okay. So that's it. We're adding everything onto the sheets, and then you print this. So we use Bluebeam, so I always put it to the printer. Bluebeam, make sure it's combined. Do this. You see that's toggle, so they go back to combine. You can go select here, select all your sheets. can do this multiple ways. Right now they're already pre-selected. Typically do something like this, and then I can select all the sheets, and you can edit the order here if need be. Okay, so that's selected, and then the size here. This is my typical size. These are my settings. Turn this option on, view links in blue. That way the details are going to be clickable and they're blue. Okay, that's good. All right, let's print it. Okay, so that's printed. And then I go to my quick links, go into drawings, go to my PDFs, and call it, we can do today's date, and then preliminary, couple studio project. Save. And then you can, so then we're going to start going through and reviewing everything, doing a QC. All right, now that we've got them printed, I start out by just doing a cursory review, looking at everything, looking at the notes, looking at things to see if it's in order. Have that. Are there any overlapping text, anything missing? Things need to get lined up. That's kind of the first review. Do we need to line anything up? Do we need to change anything? And just take your time going through it. Yeah, I think for now that looks pretty good. Preliminary set. Nothing. Oh, actually right there. There's an issue there. I'll go through. I have my shortcut set up in Bluebeam. E is like for lip. I'll just circle that for myself. And then when I save this, when I save everything, I save it with, mine. It's a Redlining, which is RLS, dash, and then my initials, right? And that's saved in the PDFs. That's just for me. See what else we need to fix. All right, so now let's zoom into the plans. I like to just zoom in. These are the plans we created. We're not spending too much time on the details. These are, I would just say for now, these are preliminary details. We're not the final review, right? So I would spend some time just looking at the plans here, see if everything's in order. So we got this hanging out here. It's random. This, right, needs to get moved over. So this is just redlining the plans. Look around, see if anything catches your eye, anything out of place. That's kind of in the middle. That should be right there. It happened. I made some updates so some of these things jumped around, and that's something that happens all the time. So this is what you need to do once you think you're done. You print the PDF, look at the PDF, review it, and then send it to the engineer for review. So we need a call out here. These are all covered by our typical notes for now. Let's see what else. Those look good. Yeah, I think that looked pretty good. Look at this. Anything out of place? No. Go to this plan. Pull down, Sill plates. We got all that. Okay, save it. And then I save it like this, RLS, meaning red lines, hyphen, my initials, and then the date, and then the name. All right. So now I would go back to Revit. And I had the red lines up on the side. I know this was one of them. Move that there, control drag. Control, and then drag it down. That's there. Oh, this is something we, I guess, can't see in our red lines. Delete that. And then go here. Like that. That. Get that. Let's see what other red lines we had. This one we're good. That guy. Okay. The other thing I didn't realize is the views are renamed wrong. And so I typically use a renaming. You can use PyRevit here for the view renaming. Yeah, so you for PyRevit you'd go renumber, viewports, click the starting number, click OK at that, and that done. So let's go to here. I believe this was out of order 2. Yep. Okay. Let's check these also. 1, yeah. Just need to get renumbered. Try that again. Okay, save. What else? I think we fixed that one. Fascia 4. Yep. And then, yeah, so I would say that's it. We can fix this also, something that's coming up here. Let's go. It's a long name. Might change that, or you just go into the title block, fix that a little bit, move that up, and then the vertical line you can do top. That should help us. There you go. Save again. And then if you want to enter in, the project number, date, all of that in here, you can do that. Author, drawn by checker, all of that. All right. So that's pretty much it for the preliminary drawings.